I reintroduce to you Kevin King from the WRA.
Okay, this afternoon we'll finish the balance of the offers to purchase. Well, congratulations, and I bring the congratulations from Bill and Kitty of our staff and everyone from the Wisconsin Realtors Association. As you heard, he was also a very valuable asset to the Wisconsin Realtors Association. When I told Billy and Kitty, when I told Bill and Kitty that I was coming up today and Rolf was being honored, I asked if they had any stories, and we spent a couple hours, none of which I can repeat. So congratulations. I'll leave that up to your imagination. Yeah, apparently.
Good one.
Yeah, apparently. A little twist this afternoon, a little fun, hopefully. What we thought we'd do is just to bring to you a little bit of a case law update from cases that have occurred in the last couple of years in Wisconsin. As you may or may not know, since 1978, the Wisconsin Realtors Association has had the legal action program. And what that is designed to do is to offer support to realtors and homeowners and others in the state when there's a legal matter of significant issue in the courts. And as such, we've been quite active in the last couple of years in a variety of different ways. For example, in 2008, there was a case, the township zoned some property. It was a B2 zoning, whatever that meant in their township. Now, townships have the right to create zoning. That's not the bad part of the story. The bad part is that the owner started using the property. And the township came and said, well, you can't use it for that purpose. You have to get a conditional use permit or a zoning change. And the owner said, okay, so what purposes can I use the property for? Because he went in to get his conditional use permit and he turned it down. He went in and got made his application for a new zoning, for a zoning change, and he got turned down. So he said, okay, township, with all due respect, what can I use my property for? And they said, nothing. There are no permitted uses under this zoning. Now think about this. No permitted uses of the property under B2 zoning. So the owner, being the wise fellow he was, he went back and started using his property the same way he was using it when he stopped him the first time. So the township sued him, and they lost, and the township appealed. Now there's a wise use of taxpayer dollars, right? The township appealed to the Court of Appeals. It was at that time that actually the Court of Appeals contacted us, asked if we wanted to write a brief in this case. The case actually then went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court again found in favor of, thankfully, the landowner, saying, township, yes, you do have the right to zone property, but when you zone a property, you have to have some permitted uses in your zoning. It cannot be just, here's our zoning, there are no uses that you can have unless you get a conditional use permit. So an interesting case, but one that fortunately came out in our favor. So that's kind of a land use area that we get involved in licensing. We had a case that actually came down this year. It's an unreported case in the Court of Appeals. We've always thought that our license law allowed you to conduct real estate brokerage services anywhere within the state of Wisconsin, regardless of where the property is located. Okay, because when you look in our law, it says nothing about where the property is located. It just says where you're conducting your brokerage service. You have to do it within the state of Wisconsin. In fact, you're allowed as a broker to use forms that are permitted for use in another state if it makes sense to do that. Now, you're not going to use a Minnesota form to sell a Wisconsin property. But if you're selling a Minnesota form, you might use a Minnesota form, right? And it makes sense. Well, in this instance, what happened was a buyer's agent was assisting a corporation in acquiring a property in Iowa. Virtually all of the brokerage services took place in Wisconsin. Very little of any of the services took place in Iowa. And yet when the broker came to the closing, and the broker was expecting their payment, they didn't get paid. And this was a commission that was in excess of $200,000. So they had an interest. Actually, they were offered $10,000 commission from the buyer. So they sued. And as I said, we always thought that as long as they didn't conduct activity in the state that they weren't licensed, they would be fine. Well, they lost in Dane County, in the circuit court. Now, those of us that live in Dane County, nothing surprises us that happens in Dane County. But they went to the Court of Appeals, and it was at this point that our legal action program became involved in it. John sits on our committee. Dave Masterjohn has been on our committee, so these sound familiar to them. And we wrote a brief in support of the concept that the Wisconsin law regulates practice within the boundaries of the state of Wisconsin, regardless of where the property is located. Well, the Court of Appeals came back with really a fractured opinion, because this was a breach of contract case. The broker wanted to be paid under buyer agency contract. The court never even looked at it. And the essence of it, at least as it applies to Iowa, the property was in Iowa, the court said if you could not sue in Iowa to collect your commission, we won't let you sue in Wisconsin to collect it. Well, they weren't suing in Iowa. They knew they weren't licensed in Iowa. They didn't go to Iowa. They didn't practice in Iowa. So it made no sense to have this rationale, well, if you can't collect in Iowa, you can't collect here. And in essence, what this Court of Appeals has done is turned on its head what we always thought the law said. And what they're saying is unless you're licensed, at least with respect to Iowa, if you're not licensed in Iowa, you can't sell a property in Iowa, no matter where you provide your brokerage services. So the caveat to this, it's not precedent, it's an unpublished opinion. That's the good news. I'm not sure that the broker is going to be able to appeal it to the Supreme Court, and even if they did, I'm not sure the Supreme Court would take it. So we don't have a a case that's offering strong precedent to us yet. At the same time, I encourage you, if you are engaged in practice of offering your services while in Wisconsin for properties that are outside the state, exercise extreme caution.